There is a specific kind of silence that you carry with you. It is not the silence of peace. It is the silence of a library after everyone has left, vast, hollow, and hauntingly quiet. You are often the listener, the observer, the stable one in your circle. Friends come to you with their chaos, their tears, their loud and vibrant dramas. You listen. You nod. You offer logical solutions. But while they are drowning in waves of emotion, you often feel like you are standing behind a thick pane of glass, watching the storm, but never getting wet. And when you are alone, in the dead of night, you don't necessarily feel sad. Sadness would be a relief. Sadness has a texture. Sadness has a weight. No, what you feel is nothing. You feel a void, a sense that some vital component of your machinery was left out during assembly. You look at others, how easily they laugh, how easily they cry, how easily they know what they want, and you wonder if you are merely acting the part of a human being. You feel like a fraud. You feel that if anyone looked close enough, past the competence and the independence, they would see that inside there is just an empty room. This feeling is not a defect of your character. It is not a sign that you are broken or cold or unfeeling. It is a logical, predictable outcome of a specific type of history. We are not here to diagnose you. We are students of the human condition, looking for the hidden variables that shape our reality. And today, we are looking at the phantom limb of psychology. This is the psychology of childhood emotional neglect. Unlike trauma or abuse, which are events that happen to you, emotional neglect is the study of what failed to happen. It is the absence of feedback. It is the memory of no memory. It is the hollow void that remains when a child's emotional needs are met with silence instead of validation. If you have ever felt that your independence is actually just a wall you built to survive, if you have ever felt lonely, even when you are surrounded by people who love you, then you are in the right place. Let us walk into this void together and see what we can find in the dark. The modern world is obsessed with expression. We live in the era of the loud, the performative, and the oversharing. Society tells you that to be healthy is to be an open book. If you do not broadcast your feelings, you are labeled emotionally unavailable. If you do not ask for help, you are called stubborn or arrogant. But let us look at the truth of your architecture. Your independence is not arrogance. It is a necessary adaptation. When you were a child, you likely learned a very difficult lesson very early. Your needs were perceived as a burden. When you cried, perhaps no one came. Or worse, when you expressed a need, you were met with irritation or indifference. So, being the intelligent observer that you are, you optimized your behavior. You realized that the safest way to exist was to need nothing. You became low maintenance. You learned to swallow your tears so they wouldn't disturb the peace. You became your own mother and your own father. This is what psychologists call hyper-independence. The world sees it as a wall. I see it as a fortress. Think of the strength required to achieve that. While others crumble the moment they lack external validation, you have built a self-sustaining ecosystem within your own mind. You possess a rare superpower, the ability to self-soothe. You do not use people as emotional crutches. You do not drain the energy of those around you. In a world full of emotional vampires, you are a giver, or, at the very least, a neutral observer who carries their own weight. So, do not let them tell you that your silence is a defect. Your silence is a discipline. They call you aloof because they cannot manipulate you with guilt. They call you cold because you do not burn yourself to keep them warm. You are not broken. You are simply a survivor of a quiet war that they never had to fight. You did what you had to do to survive the void. But now, the question is this armor still serving you, or has it become a cage? The hidden variable, the broken mirror. To truly understand this void, we must look at the hidden mechanics of the human mind. We must identify the hidden variable that dictates your current reality. In developmental psychology, there is a concept known as mirroring. When an infant smiles, the parent smiles back. When the infant cries, the parent reflects that distress with concern. This is how a human being learns that they exist. You see yourself in the eyes of another. But in the case of emotional neglect, the mirror was blank. You looked into the eyes of your caregivers, searching for a reflection of your internal world, and you found distraction, indifference. Or perhaps you found a mirror that was already full of their anxiety, leaving no room for yours. This is the crucial theorem. A child cannot reject their parents, they can only reject themselves. To survive, you performed a psychological amputation. You realized that your emotions were the barrier to your connection with them. So, you severed the link to your own feelings. You became the invisible child. You sacrificed your vitality to secure your safety. The void you feel now is not emptiness. It is the scar tissue where your emotions used to be. The alchemical reframing, nigredo. However, let us reframe this through the lens of Carl Jung and the ancient alchemists. There is a profound power in your emptiness. In alchemy, the first stage of the magnum opus, the creation of the philosopher's stone, is called nigredo. It is a process of decomposition, of breaking down, of burning away the superficial ego. Most people spend their entire lives chasing external validation. They are addicted to the noise of society because they are terrified of silence. They cannot sit in a room alone because they have no inner substance. But you were born in the silence. You have lived in the nigredo your entire life. While this was painful as a child, as an adult, it offers you a rare philosophical advantage. You are already detached. You have already survived the worst fear of the human ego, being ignored. The Stoic reconstruction. This brings us to the Stoic reconstruction. The Stoics taught apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense, but equanimity, the ability to remain composed amidst the storm. You have been practicing a form of involuntary stoicism for decades. You learned to endure without complaint. You learned to hold your tongue. Now, the task is to transform this from a survival mechanism into a conscious philosophy. You must stop viewing the void as a hole to be filled. View it as a sanctuary to be defended. The fact that you do not feel as recklessly as others means you are less enslaved by impulse. The fact that you require less validation means you are closer to true sovereignty. You are not empty. You are clear. You are a vessel that has been scrubbed clean by the harsh acids of neglect, ready to hold a content of your own choosing, not the inherited neuroses of your lineage. The pain you feel is simply the grief of the child who wasn't seen. But the power you possess is the freedom of the adult who no longer needs to be seen to exist. We have journeyed through the anatomy of your silence. We have seen that your void is not a defect, but a sanctuary born of necessity. But a sanctuary should not be a prison. Even the most stoic hermit eventually needs to know that there are other fires burning in the distance. This channel is designed to be that signal fire. I want to invite you to do something that might feel uncomfortable. Below this video is a space usually reserved for noise and argument. But today, let us turn it into a repository of truth. If you recognized yourself in this description, if you have felt the hollow void or the invisible child living within you, I invite you to leave a record of your existence. You do not need to write an essay. You do not need to be clever. Simply write, "I am here." Or, if you feel brave, tell us about the moment you realized you had to become your own parent. Read the comments of others. You will see that the alien feeling you have carried all your life is actually a shared language. You are not the only one watching from behind the glass. You have been unseen for long enough. Here, in this quiet corner of the internet, you are recognized. Until next time.